Welcome to the People's Choice Award podcast, brought to you in partnership with Tier 1 People and Fintech Australia. The Finnies, Australia's largest and most prestigious fintech awards, are fast approaching, and we want you to be part of it. Sponsored by the Victorian Government and major partners Vocus and SwiftX, the Finnies are a chance to celebrate the amazing people, incredible innovations, and remarkable resilience that the fintech industry is known for and built upon. Thank you to MasterCard for sponsoring and presenting the award for Emerging FinTech Organisation of the Year at this year's Finnies. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 9th of June in Melbourne, and don't forget to make your vote in the People's Choice Awards. I'm joined by Jill Berry, who's CEO and co-founder of Adatree. They're up for Emerging FinTech of the Year award. Jill, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dexter. Hello.
Yeah, well done for making it. I keep thinking back when I seen you on the list of thinking that coffee that we had 2.5 years ago when you were still at Vault Bank. It's incredible to see what you've achieved.
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago. I also think I've aged a lot since then, but yeah.
Yeah, well, look, if it's any consolation, I'm fatter, balder, and sadly no wiser. Well, it's great to have you with us. I wondered if you could tell our listeners a little bit more about Adatree.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to. Adatree is a technology company. We are a consumer data right platform that removes barriers to companies participating in open banking in Australia. We're the first provider and a pioneer to navigate the complex and changing regulatory environments of the CDR. It's basically the companies who are interested in accessing and leveraging data through the consumer data right can get all the benefits of it and none of the burden with our One API open banking platform.
Fantastic. What a great summary there of the business. So how long have you been around for?
We actually started the ideation and work on it started in June 2019. So oddly enough, luckily enough, the first meeting that I had on it was with Scott Farrell.
Wow.
So in hindsight, I really hit the jackpot on that. No, but I'd read the review into open banking published in December 2017, and was just so excited about all the potential change that open banking or the consumer data right can really bring to all Australian consumers and businesses. And I just love the idea of how much change it could really, that it can bring to Australia and even to other companies who adopt the Australian standards. At that point, I was working for a neobank because I also love, getting rid of legacy tech and legacy thinking so you can have better changes. But yeah, so there were such high barriers to entry. There was a huge capability for change. There was no solution in the market. So that's when we're like, a lot of these technical standards are kind of copied and pasted of what it takes to build a bank. We've done that twice now. So we should fill this gap. Let's be the first ones.
So it's I guess it's still an area that there's a lot of confusion around. There's still a lot of education that needs to happen. But in layman's terms, what would you say is the big problem that Adatree solves?
The problem that we solve is more for businesses that want to participate in the CDR and not necessarily, say, for the end consumer. So the problem that we solve, it is very expensive, complicated, time-taking, and just a whole lot of effort to be a part of the CDR just for the technical standards, the customer experience guidelines, and just meeting all of the requirements. And it's not a project. It's not a one-off, but it constantly changes as well. So we are essentially a technology provider that we're an abstraction layer from all of that. So companies can get the benefits of the CDR. Like everyone just wants to access the data in real time and do wonderful things with it, not focus on essentially the pipes. The same way that if you wake up in the morning, you don't want to use a plumbing system. You want to just have a shower and have a cup of tea. So we're, for terrible terms that my engineering team would probably hate, we're kind of a plumbing system to the CDR.
Great analogy. Now, when you talk about anybody or business that wants to access data, you're talking more, broader than banks. So CDR, its vision is pretty huge. Are you kind of building this so that it then brings other businesses together? Essentially, any tech business could become a customer of yours?
Yeah, absolutely. Or even a non-tech business as well. So we believe in total scale, automation, but also it's driven by like our mission for change. So we've done it we've built and architected Adatree in a way that we liked how it can scale from a top 10 ASX listed company down to a 3-person startup, any industry, any use case, and definitely preparing to receive non-banking data like energy, telco, super, it as well. So we want it to be as scalable as possible from day one, like not an MVP like most startups or fintechs do, but actually we've built it in a way so we are as scalable as AWS is.
Wow, awesome. So where are you at now in terms of the size of the business and funding and all of those things?
Yeah, we are currently at 10 employees. It's come a long way from just Shane and I 2 years ago talking about
5x growth, eh?
I know, absolutely. And hiring for at least someone else too, coming up for surprise, another engineer. And we just closed our funding or our seed funding round late last year. I think probably one of the only companies to ever close a funding round in December. It was 3 times oversubscribed, no pitches. It was actually just really, really straightforward. So we got to pick and choose our basically high net worth investors who really know Adatree and will add a fair amount of value to us as well. So I'm like really excited about who we have as investors, people who have known for a while as well, and really resonate with the company.
Brilliant. Now, it's a fairly competitive space that you're in. There's some fantastic organizations in there. How have you gone about differentiating yourself?
Great question. I think that what we really have is our first mover advantage. We definitely talk to companies even now. They're like, oh, could partner with you, or maybe build it ourselves. And I was like, if you want to start to build it right now, like you've really missed the boat. I think that when really early on, there was just so much uncertainty in the CDR, but we just started to build towards the standards. Even right now, if you try to look for a CDR platform and you're like, oh, I want to deploy tomorrow and make sure that you're aligned to the standard. And I want to be conformant and a data recipient as soon as possible. Really don't have any other options. So I think that there's a fair amount of sizzle out there. People, what people say that they have, and then there's the stake of Adatree. We definitely have it. We're the early adopter of that, kind of like the pioneer CDR provider as well. So I know that other companies, they're very openly going to build a CDR platform as well. But for us, it's really about staying ahead, anticipating needs, and largely around use cases. So building out our capabilities, not just to access data, but to leverage it as well. So that would be through other partnerships, really thinking about, data intelligence, payments, credits, but then also our own grown capabilities, largely around customer journeys, verification, and basically just kind of having a breakfast menu of different add-ons, still through configuration through our one API, to really suit any the changing use cases and needs of all different types of companies. So I think that's how we really differentiate.
Brilliant. Now, it's an awesome kind of background story as well. of kind of, how you got the business off the ground. Do you want to share with our listeners a little bit about your background previously? Because, your origins aren't, you weren't a big banking executive and, came with this huge network, and you weren't coming from a sales background. You've come from a, product background, which, to get a business like this off the ground, you got to have a lot of discussions with some fairly senior folk at banks that are pretty difficult to get a hold of. So how have you gone about doing all of that, Jill?
Yeah, I think that's definitely interesting. Let's say, so my background is product development. I love, doing everything end to end, from ideation, build with engineers, go to market, and later portfolio management, and even grandfathering products. I've had some really wonderful experiences. 4 years at A&P Bank, a couple of years at Tyro, on their journey from being an acquiring company to a bank, being on the founding team of Volt Bank as well. So I think that I have a fair amount of experiences, largely in financial services, building basic, non-basic deposit products, loan products, for individuals, businesses, and institutions, kind of from scratch, that are kind of, that I've just really done myself. So I have some wonderful experiences. I think that really gave me the context and skills of how to take an idea and actually build it and bring it to market. I think that's something that so many businesses struggle with. There's so many wonderful ideas out there. Ideas don't I differentiate you at all. It's your execution on that. That's literally what I do, is kind of like solve problems in regulated areas. So when thinking about building Adatree, it's not like I'm going to Google how to do a smoke test, how to validate customer demand, what is product market fit. I've literally just been living it, breathing it for so long. So I think that's what we definitely talk. Those type of experiences are the absolute backbone of it. I think that if I had a sales background, I'd understand customer problems, but I think it's really that experience of working with engineers. And even when I'm talking to banks right now, largely the third tier ones, it's kind of having that empathy of just being like, all right, we just want to have a scalable platform, realizing that you don't have all the budgets in the world, realizing that you don't have all the resources. Let's see how we can solve problems for you. And it's scalable and easy, as easy as it can be for everyone. So I think that that's the way that I approach it. I'm definitely not a B2B sales expert. Luckily, I just hired one of those, so my life's a little bit easier now. But yeah, I think that a lot of it is just knowing the problems, knowing actually, how to customize, what to scale, how to prioritize. And definitely working with engineers as well. I think that's been part of our key success, having the two co-founders that are as the brilliant software engineer and bit of a bossy product developer. And just Shane and I have worked together for about 6 years, so we're a wonderful team.
Fantastic. And what's been your kind of experience of going from working in startup environments to then having your own startup?
That's definitely interesting. Yeah. Well, I've always experienced regulation. So this isn't, a surprise. It all to me, because, having a regulated startup, that's a bit of an oxymoron. Really just because having everything in place. But I think it's, I've definitely leveraged my experiences, especially with Volt. I think that I joined there when we didn't even have office space. We were just kind of squatting in a building that was about to be taken down before they moved to a real one. I think it's just understanding the idea that there's no set job description. It's anything needs to be done. Your days of having a really, set boundary of your role, that's totally gone. And you are every single day, every hour that you will be, you'll have so many questions thrown at you and so many scenarios of things that you have to do that you have no clue how to do. And it's just being able to figure it out, how to do it well and quickly. Yeah. So I wonder if that will help.
Yeah. I often use the comparison of it, when I launched Tier 1 People, which was 5 years back, it was pretty much almost exactly the same as when my daughter was born 10 years back and I became a parent for the first time. It was making stuff up as I went along, feeling an absolute fraud and trying to make things work and happen on not much sleep. And there's so many analogies that I see. And I think the other thing that's really, I think more resonant than anything else is that the fulfillment that comes from life, I've found, is the creation piece. To take an idea and turn it into a business is just, to me, that I just don't feel there's anything better in a career that can come close to matching that, that kind of buzz and that energy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I love your analogy of that, just being like things that you just don't know how to do, you can Google, and doing it on not much sleep.
Yeah, look, it's tough, right? And I think this is, how have you found that from, you've managed people before, but now you're responsible, right? You're responsible for paying them. You're responsible for their livelihood. How have you managed to kind of keep it together, having that level of responsibility whilst doing all the other stuff of starting the business, growing the business, going out and meeting clients, building the product, building the platform?
Yeah, I actually just got off the phone earlier with one of my investors named Rachel Newman, and she basically does more of like a CEO mentoring role as well. And I think it's there's so many things to juggle all the time, and there's so many new things as well. So it's really just thinking about I have a great team. I have so many supporters, advisors, investors, and I'm definitely not doing this on my own. So I literally have a Confluence page of people that I can talk to about so many different scenarios, or just things that, just different subjects that I can talk to, kind of, or just like text really, and I trust it at any time, just being like, hey, I'm looking at this, can you help out with this, or can you check this over? This is a conversation I want to have. So luckily my network of, people who can help me is it's quite wide and trusted, which is really a lifesaver. If I had to do it all on my own, that would, that would be very tough. So I definitely try to leverage. But yeah, it's a fair amount of responsibility thinking of, employees with families.
Yeah. But
it's about the strategy, watching cash burn, really focusing on revenue, customer acquisition, going towards profitability. Absolutely. It's all super important.
Cool. Now, there's a question that I've got to ask because it's been bugging me. Adatree, where'd you get the name from?
It turns out choosing a name is pretty hard to do.
I've got to compliment you here, right? Because I think you must be the fintech with the most vowels in their name. Normally people are taking vowels out, right? When they put a name for a fintech. Yours is nearly all vowels.
No fintech has ever had an ER at the end of it. It's
vowel diversity, I think you got a 50-50 between vowels and consonants.
Yeah, absolutely. No. If anything, we actually have more vowels.
You do.
Yeah, it's a great ratio. But yeah, so it's we wanted to have a meaning behind it. So it's two parts of it. So Ada, everyone says Ada, but Ada, it's an old woman's name. Ada Lovelace is basically kind of like the founder of the first computer algorithm. So really looking at math and numbers and seeing it for the possibility of more than what it actually really is. We definitely see the CDR for that. It's not just sharing data, but it's what's all the change that you can really bring with that. And then Tree, just really thinking about a data ecosystem. So us just being the roots of it and helping things grow. So yeah, so that's how we came up with the company name. But yeah, most people get it wrong, except software engineers. They generally get it right, just because in their probably Comp Sci 101 they probably learned about Ada Lovelace.
Yeah. when I look at my network in the space, CD on data, and this is me, just looking at my network, but I think there's more females that are in leadership positions than there are guys that I've got in my network. What do you put that down to, Jill?
Wow, I'm actually really impressed about that point about your network. I don't know. I've never really thought about it in terms of in the female male split, specifically in data. I know that for lots of open banking companies, I'm definitely the only female founder, and I don't really actually know any other female executives in that. But I don't know, Rachel, my investor, she also told me, she's like, rockstar women find other rockstar women.
Yeah.
And then I think that there's some wonderful people, female founders and executives in the ecosystem, like Simone Joyce, Paper Plane, of course, chair of Fintech Australia, Lisa Schutz of Verifier, Caroline Breeze, Go Cardless. There's so many actually really amazing and supportive women.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I'm kind of proud to have them as friends as well. They're just incredible people, and I think it's that's one of the things I love about this podcast is just sharing stories like yours that the kind of narrative about Superwoman and all this stuff is you're all amazing people, but you're all very kind of ordinary people as well. And I think it's that accessibility, right? That I think the more that we get that out there, I think the more people will be inspired. And, I see it with my 10-year-old daughter who, she asks me whenever there's a female on the podcast, what their background was, what they studied, how do you get into that job? What do you have to do? And it's kind of, and it's awesome, right? And she's gone from being somebody who wanted to go and do dancing and, gym stars to now, she's learning how to code and develop because she's fallen in love with Roblox and then started to listen to the podcast and just get really interested in stuff. It's really cool.
That's really impressive. But I mean, well, whether it's your 10-year-old daughter or even myself, it's I didn't grow up, or gosh, even 2.5 years ago, if you would have asked me if I was ever going to be CEO, I'd be like, no, I just want to be chief product officer. I love solving problems. Didn't really plan on that, but I just have actually a number of very close fintech friends who I've always been I've just watched their success over the time, and they're really great influences for me.
Awesome. Now we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about some of your achievements, Jill. And this is really the kind of, why people should vote for you. It is people's choice. So first up, what is it that you're most proud of that Adatree's achieved over this last 12 months?
Yeah, I think that overall it's just being that pioneer, just having that bravery and really just being the first, we're not the 8th pay now, or buy now, pay later. We're not the 10th, non-bank business lender. We're actually the first CDR platform, the first one to take the risk, the first one to go through so much regulatory uncertainty, so much testing that other companies will really go through. But yeah, I think that there's so many companies that are just oh, I don't know about CDR. Maybe we'll do it in a couple of years. It's just having that that bravery, that vision, and really just make progress and not excuses. So, we're just essentially doers of it. I'm also really proud that, we don't have any vaporware. If we say something that we have something, we actually have it. That's a really big bugbear of me. So we definitely walk our talk, and are just really collaborative. So I don't know, we're the first startup, the youngest company, the youngest CEO, first female CEO of the companies to be accredited as a data recipient. Even just yesterday, we're the first intermediary in Australia to be active, which actually matters a whole lot more than being accredited. So that means that you actually receive the data, like in like production data. So yeah, so there's these really, really big milestones. We're actually even profitable our first year.
Wow.
We waited 18 months. We're full of just bootstrapping to do a capital raise. So I don't know. I'm just like really proud of, we had the vision, we stuck to it, and took a whole lot of risks, and luckily it's actually paying off right now. If it was in like 2 or 3 weeks, I would be able to drop such a big bomb that would just be unbelievably exciting. But yeah, maybe we can just, talk about that.
Yeah, well, I think it's I think the Finnies will be announced in 3 weeks. Is it 3 or 4 weeks? So we might be able to kind of stitch that into the podcast once it's announced and put that in. But I guess look, one final question. Where do you see your companies making an impact where perhaps others aren't?
Let's see. I think that it's not just a tech play, but we're quite empathetic about what companies really have to go through for CDR, focusing on lots of different use cases. But something that would be quite different is that our focus on CDR for good. I really believe that tech companies have an obligation to society to use their resources, use their products to make society better. That is a big focus for us, and especially who we're engaging with for different use cases. As much as a number of our early customers are lenders, I don't think that Australia will be much better off as a society just because of the consumer data right if lenders adopt it.
Yeah.
But it will really be if you have data-driven, real-time solutions for vulnerable people who struggle with alcohol and gambling.
Yeah.
Single parents, people looking for needing so much help that you can identify eligibility, and so many other parts of that life cycle with CDR. So. There's the immediate focus of helping early adopters, largely fintechs, lenders, banks go live, but our a fair amount of our efforts are also going to be working with non-for-profits and in different social outcomes or organizations as well. So I think that we just really always keep our mission and our vision about creating better consumer and business outcomes really at the pulse of everything that we do and in our product roadmap as well.
Love what you've said there, Jill, because I think one of the frustrations I have with the commentary on buy now, pay later is that it's actually done a lot of good for people as well. And I think the CDR and what you're talking about kind of puts in that layer of protection for those people who are vulnerable or who might kind of rot the system, whilst also protecting those that actually these emerging and innovative new solutions actually do good for as well. So it's awesome to hear that that's your mission, because I think it's it's the ingredient, the component that's just missing from really taking that, taking what we've seen so far in FinTech 1.0 and really taking it to the next level.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Maybe in a year we can, have another podcast about look at all the, data and products for good.
Well, Jill, we wish you and the whole team and Shane all the best in the finals. Fantastic to see you there. I just, can't say well done enough. I think it's just an amazing accomplishment for you to get to the finals, be an even bigger one to win as well. And I think, you're obviously in with a really big chance. Amazing what you've achieved this last year and a half or so.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, such kind words. No, I'm very, very happy to be part of the Finnies. We're actually having everyone in the team going down. So super excited about that to, celebrate both ours and, everyone in the industry's achievements. It's been a hard year, so definitely have a dance in Melbourne. So
awesome. Well, hope we'll see you down there.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you to MasterCard for sponsoring and presenting the award for Emerging FinTech Organization of the Year. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 9th of June in Melbourne. And don't forget to make your vote in the People's Choice Awards.